So I thought I would try a little different content and just do some puzzles. I'm going to go through Puzzle Rush, and I'm just going to go on survival. Um, it's more important to me that I get them right than it is that I get so many in a certain time period. I want to get them uh, correct. I want to just drill the puzzles. So there we go. I'll talk this out as best I can. Hopefully make it. I mean, this is the first string of these are going to be fairly elementary. Obviously, here there's just an instant backrank threat. And these are puzzles, so they're going to be a little easier. And you know that you're looking for tactical shots. So in game is very different. And all of these are kind of the same theme here, where there's back rank threats. There's still a back rank threat because the queen has this square, and this the king is confined to the back rank. And it's okay to drill these over and over again because, I mean, it kind of sets it in your brain. You know to look for these patterns. They become second nature, and it's instinct. So here we've got the knight and queen coordinating to the H2 square, checkmate. And this is probably going to be a similar theme. So the knight and queen coordinating for checkmate. So the queen guards these squares. And the bishop and the queen coordinate for checkmate right here. The knight guards this escape square, so this will be mate, bishop and knight together. Rook and queen coordinating for checkmate. Rook and queen. So here we take, and that supports the rook. Yeah, he doesn't have any checks because the rook just takes back. And this is a back rank threat. So there's a little bit of an extra step here, because if we go to the back rank immediately, rook takes, king takes. So we want to stutter, and we want to check first and force the king back over. And now we can sack the queen because checkmate ends the game. So the queen is attacking. This would be instant mate, but the queen is protecting that through X-ray. But I can't get to the bishop if the queen's in the way, so checkmate with the bishop. There's some back rank threat here. This is checkmate. Pawns and kings. Okay. Pawns and kings. It's going to be a race. So if I come here to grab up this pawn, he comes in and snags that one. I wonder if I just keep the opposition here. If I keep the opposition, he has the chance to run with this pawn. So my pawn's faster. So I want to round up his pawn. He can make me run for it. He can win this pawn, but once this one starts running, the king has to go back to catch it. So here, white's threatening mate, and this would be pretty unstoppable if not for our own mate threat. This pawn is pinned to the queen. The queen is pinned to the king, so knight here check. And that deflected the rook off of this. So that's mate. Knight's hanging. Queen's attacked. Take the pawn with check. He blocks with the queen. I take, and then I win the knight. So we're off of checkmating patterns here, I think. I don't see mate anywhere. I think we just win material here. Okay, so attacking the queen. We have a check. We're always going to look for checks, captures, and attacks. The bishop is guarding the dark squares, and the queen has the light squares. So a check here will force the king to the back rank, and then the rook hangs. This knight is pinned, so it is not defending that square. So we can check. The knight can't capture, the queen must block, but then we check with the bishop behind it, drive the king away, and win the queen. Okay, so the king is attacking the rook. 4 pawns to 2. Black has a knight. His pieces are way over here, and the king is right here. So this is a mate. The king has mated itself. It's should have gone backwards because that's checkmate. Black to play. So checks first. We have check here, which is useless. Just get taken. But a check here, and the rook is forced to block. It's supported by the bishop, but then our rook takes, bishop takes, and then queen takes. Bishop takes. Okay, so the bishop blocks. We can sack the queen, and we still get mate on the back. We ignore this threat and just double our rooks on the second rank. Because when the king is confined to these 2 squares, 2 rooks will lead to mate. The king needs a 3rd square to kind of shuffle back and forth at the very least. We can ignore the bishop. And he has to come here. And we check. And we check. Okay. We would have gotten our bishop involved eventually there, but it didn't make us play it out. Here, let's see. So this would be mate, except for the knight. So we remove the defender. Check. And mate. Let's see here. The bishop is pinned by the queen. The knight's attacking the queen. So we can check, and this opens the discovery on a hanging rook. Okay, the rook is no longer hanging because the king can take. Important to recognize your opponent's best defense, and that's an area I can improve upon. Saw that initial idea, but I assumed taking back with the knight and not taking with the king. So this is still the right idea, but how do I continue? I would think it needs to be a check. There isn't a block on the dark squares. The king can only go back to its home on E1, or it can come up. And if it comes up, we can get the light square bishop involved. And if it goes back, we have our original idea of taking the rook. Okay. There's a check here. Rook takes, pawn check, and that supports the queen coming to h7. So rook takes, king here or here, and then queen h7, king's forced back to f8, and queen h8, and then rook g8. Okay. Rook takes, king here. Maybe rook here. If the king tries to come out to f6, we can go rook f1, check, followed by queen f. No, the rook's still there. The rook hasn't moved yet. So I feel like the check is the first move to calculate deeply. I don't see any other immediate candidate moves. So takes. King has this square and this square. If king g7, then queen to h7 check, king to f8, queen h8, rook g8. Oh, we can sack the queen because we have another rook to get involved here, I think. Yeah. So rook here, rook here. So we play rook, queen takes rook, king takes queen. Rook g1. Check. King back to g8, and then rook h8. He can block twice if he wants to play the computer moves, but we give up the queen. Okay. That's just a mate in one. I like how it mixes them back in. It makes the simple ones back in after it gives you some more complex ideas. So I like this check that forces the king here. It'd be wonderful if the bishop were already here, but it is not. Could just win the queen back. It's four minors, two rooks, two rooks. 2 on 4, 3 on 2, up a pawn. That's pretty playable, but this king is very confined. So in a puzzle type situation, in a game with the clock ticking, it'd be hard not to just take the queen back. It would be very hard just to not say I'm up a pawn and continue playing. But because it's a puzzle, you kind of suspect that there's something more. And this is the first idea. How? Okay, so if queen takes back, if rook takes with the queen, we're hanging our knight. We would have to take back with the knight, which is kind of an ugly looking move to put your knight on the first rank again. when you're so far advanced with these other pieces and you kind of feel like you're on the attack. So knight here, check. Wins the rook. It does win the rook. King, page 7. Knight takes rook, check. King h8. Knight g6, check. King h7. Promotes to knight because the bishop guards this square. The knight will check. The king doesn't have this h8 square because there's a knight here. So this is a promote to knight puzzle. Oh, but it's not even going to let you play it out. How are you going to throw a promote to knight puzzle out there and not let you play it out? Okay. We have a bishop check on h2. We have a knight and a rook coordinated on f2. Check and force the king away from the protection of f2. And then we could take with the knight, check. He's forced to take because it's made otherwise. And then rook takes. So we can win the exchange and a pawn. Is there anything else? Is there something more than the exchange and a pawn? So maybe we could just lead with taking the pawn with the rook. That opens up this square for the king to run to. We want to force the king this way. Bishop h2 check, king h1. Maybe rook takes f2, and if rook takes f2, then knight takes would be mate. So the rook can't take. What can the rook do? Set there. The pawn at the very least. So our choice is to go in with the rook and win a pawn, or check with the knight and win the exchange. So I think the exchange is what we want here. Okay. So this is a race. This is just kings and pawns, and this is our most advanced pawn. So we just want to clear away for queening. Our pawn is faster, so. We want to check. The only check is all the way over here then. That puts the king here or here to stay close to the pawn. And then I'm out of checks. It's a puzzle where I allow him to queen. I don't know if I can stop him from queening. Allow might be a ambitious term. Perhaps checking here, king somewhere, picking up pawns. That seems queen. Pick up another pawn. If the king's here, there's a check he could give. I pick up another pawn and am free from checks. That may be our best choice. Oh, I was not correct. First miss. I want to go back and revisit that one. Did I get out of it? I didn't get out of it. Okay, so we're still on Puzzle Rush. But I do want to look at this puzzle for just a second longer. And I mean, so this was the idea. Tuck the king away. Also incorrect. So what's the solution here? End games are my weakness. I could definitely improve on end game. Why did I not see that? Oh, those are the kind of puzzles that make you feel, that looks so obvious once the computer plays it out, but I struggled mightily to see that, and I shouldn't. That just tells me I need more practice with the end game because that's an obvious move to block the queening square, and I just had a mental block. So it happens. That's why we drill them. We gotta guard the queening square. Okay, so that's one miss. Two more strikes. Figured I would get a little higher before missing. We're checked. Queen is checking the king. So I have to block that check or move the king because there is no piece attacking the queen. I can block with the knight, or I can move the king to h5. There are no more checks on h5 because the knight guards this square. The pawn occupies the only other queen square the queen can get to. It may threaten. Let's see, white may have this. Oh no, he doesn't because mate in one is the threat. If I don't move the knight, I have mate in one. So definitely we're moving the king. And he has to give up his queen. Okay. So brought his knight in. Attacking the bishop, which is only defended once. We have a threat on the bishop. Black has a threat on our bishop. Simple defense. It's not usually the topic of Puzzle Rush. Can we ignore the threat on the bishop and threaten something more? No. Can we take the knight? If pawn takes knight, we've traded knights, but the bishop is hanging. So taking the knight, if he takes the bishop, the knight takes, and we've gained a knight and a bishop. So yes, we just take it. So here a little bit of finesse. If we go here to stay defending, he brings the rook to the second and wins it anyway. if we come here to stay defending, and he brings his other rook to attack again, we can simply move the knight away because the queen is defended by both rooks. So we defend here. So this white king is in a cluster of pieces here. It doesn't have a whole lot of room. The pawn is defended by the knight. So this square, this square, this square, this square, and this square are all inaccessible. If I could only check the king, wouldn't that be great? Looks like checkmate to me. So here there's a kind of disguised back rank problem. The bishop is disconnecting the rooks. So whenever the rooks aren't looking at each other, keep an eye out because we can sack the queen with check here. And when the rook takes the queen, this rook can come to the first rank. The rook comes back, and then the other rook or this rook, either one's mate. And same deal. So we have the queen and bishop guarding or attacking the f7 square, so we can sacrifice the queen. And once the rook takes back, the rook is pinned to the king, and there's a back rank problem because these pieces have not been developed and the other rook is not in the game. Okay. So there's attacking the knight. So I think taking the pawn here. The knight is currently preventing the king from escaping, so it's effectively confined. But if we take with the rook, our immediate threat is rook h8, checkmate. Even if he takes the knight with the queen is guarding the escape square, so rook h8 is still a checkmate threat. If he takes the rook, then we have queen g7, and all of these squares are guarded, so the king's forced to the corner, and queen h7 is checkmate. Okay. Attacked the knight. The knight is the only piece we have out. Everything else is still tucked away at home. It's hard to... The only other, like, black structure is very funny looking and seems to be of some importance. This diagonal is open and the rook would be hanging if only there were some piece that could get to it. I don't know, like a queen. So maybe taking on f7, sacrificing the knight to draw out the king. Then this would be a check, and the king would be either forced out into the open, which looks very frightening for black. And I'm going to push this pawn, attacking the rook. And if he does anything to defend the rook, I have a second pawn push. to nail down this side of the board. And all these other, that would be a devastating attack. Even if the king goes back to its home, I have this pawn push attacking the rook, followed by this pawn push, and a checkmate threat coming. And the knight can come out and defend. But this is supposed to be tactical exercise, though, calculation. So I don't want to go with anything short of a complete understanding of the position, which is a tall order. So sack the knight, king takes, queen f3 check. The king has options. The king can go here, here, or back. So let's assume king does not have here. The king does not have e6 because queen f4 would be mate. It's all guarded. So the king only has g6 or e8. If he goes g6, I still have queen here mate. He can escape here, but I push the d pawn and open up the bishop with check. So last move, king back to e8. Pawn push, attacking the open rook. If he defends the open rook, we push the pawn again. We threaten mate on f7. He develops the knight to block the queen's access. Maybe we don't push. Maybe we think about what do I do in that case? If he goes back, I push the pawn. He defends his rook. Is there another move here? The knight is gone. It's been sacrificed. It does not exist. Queen is here. My gut tells me that that is worth the knight. But I don't see the continuation here. I want to push this pawn and nail down this e pawn. The bishop is going to be a terrible piece. The king has no escapes. This knight does stop checkmate threats. It keeps my queen out of h5. And it keeps my queen off of f7. Is there anywhere else I can go? Maybe I just continue with development at this point then. I go bishop d3. Pawn's all the way up here. Queen's here. All right, I spent enough time calculating that. I think this is the move. That was not the continuation. Okay, I missed something there. So this is the idea, but I've got the wrong follow-up. I want to play this again. Okay, this problem. So this is the idea, but bringing the queen out is not correct. Push the pawn first. Also incorrect. One more time. Maybe I check here. Force this pawn push. That doesn't seem... Well, it can seem like whatever, but okay, if he blocks, then I can retreat back with the queen. Check. King g7. Then I have the pawn push. Attacking the rook. He defends the rook. I don't understand the difference between this check and this check. I mean, it gives the king this square to run to. Not an immediate pawn push, and it is not this check. Then it must be this check. Has to be. Not the correct follow-up. So what am I checking over here? I'm just going to ask for the solution at this point. That wins the rook by force. Okay. All right. So 2 strikes, 1 more to go. I'm on 35. Let's press on. So here, king's in the open. White has a rook. There's a discovered line of attack on the queen. There's this fork, the king and queen. So that must be the idea, I would think. This move threatens to win the queen. Does it? No, the knight's guarding at the moment. But that has to be the move. And then take with the queen or take with the knight? We take with the queen because you don't want to give up your queen. And then you have this square to run to. Okay. So the knight's attacking that square. It would seem that I could pick up the rook and the knight for just my knight. The material would be in my advantage. 3 pawns versus 1, 4 pawns versus 3. But that leaves a queen on the board with this check. And this perpetual. Well, if I block, then they take here, and it's a perpetual. I don't want to allow a perpetual. What I can do is take the knight first with check. Queen takes, knight takes. With a fork, and I win the queen, he wins the knight, and it's just pawns on the board, and that's an overwhelming advantage. So I take the knight, not the rook. So here, white has tucked his king away. There's potential for back rank issues, but there's a rook. We don't have anything. We only have one piece looking at that, and it's blocked at the moment. There's this forking idea with the pawns, with the pawn, king, queen, the queen and rook. Isn't that simple? Is it a simple pawn fork? He takes the rook, I take the queen. Takes the rook, I take the rook. He attacks my queen, I take his queen. He takes my queen, I take his rook. All right. Here, oh, white has a dark square bishop that can come here. There's a battery on the E file, a single rook guarding the E8 square. I have some checks I could give here or here. White's king is very exposed, and there aren't any pieces around to rush to its defense. Pretty tempted to check with the queen on H3 and follow up with the knight to G4. But then are there ideas of sacking the queen? Rook takes check, king G7, bishop here. No, because then there's rook takes, and then the mate threat is maintained. Okay. That it's almost a mate in one, except the rook can come back. So the bishop is pinned. In check. But rook comes back. And then I can check the king and force the king back and win the rook. Ooh, there's one of those instances where I didn't see the best defense. So it's the right idea still, but there's a defense I didn't calculate, and that gets me into trouble sometimes. So the queens see each other now. If I take en passant, I lose the queen. No, because it's check. Check has to be answered first, so I can take en passant. And I win the rook. Okay. So our rook is opposite the king. This queen here. Two pawns. The king's pretty exposed, but I'm not sure what I'm doing to get at it immediately. Is the queen trapped? Can I go bishop here? Guarded, 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 guarded. The queen only has here. Attacking the rook. So no is the answer. It is not trapped. Oh, but is bishop here trapping it? Bishop here, attacking the queen. The queen still has this square. This is guarded. This is attacked. This is the only square for the queen. Lift the rook to attack the queen again. Then the queen only has this square, which is not checked because the bishop blocks. Then can we bring our queen in? and threaten here and threaten just bishop takes. I feel like this is the move, and I'm tempted. I'm very tempted, but it'll be my third strike if I'm wrong. So I want to calculate one more time. Bishop here, queen here is forced. Rook here, queen h8 is not a check. Queen g5. This is not a direct attack. It is a direct attack on this pawn. But he's not forced to deal with that immediately, is he? So black's threat is to just move the bishop anywhere, probably taking here, and open up a checkmate threat. I'm going to play it. That was incorrect. Oh well. All right. I got to 40. All right. I hope you had fun looking at some of these tactics with me. It's important to study them. I'm going to look at this puzzle real quick just to see what the solution is. And I thought I asked for the solution. I'll take a hint. Give me a hint. Okay, it is a bishop move. It's bishop there. It was the first bishop move I calculated. And then what? We just lift the king and threaten what? Exactly. Knight here to guard the rook. Then the rook isn't moving anywhere. The queen's in a box, but it's not getting attacked. Is there this check first? It is the check first. And then we can bring the queen in to guard the rook. And then we can take the knight. Okay. All right. Thanks for going through some tactics with me. I'll try to do some more of this in the future.